I'm so happy to have Carrie Contey here. Carrie is a Ph.D. and an internationally recognized coach, author, speaker, and educator. I know Carrie because I participated in her year-long Evolve program twice, and that ran from 2011 to 2017, and it was an incredible program that was focused around developing personhood, parenting skills, prosperity, and just caring for yourself and helping to just create the family life that you want for your family. So I'm so happy to have Carrie here. Carrie, you and I talked about 2 years ago, I think was the last time I saw you, about issues and themes relating to trauma and the work that I do, which is supporting kids who are having bumps in the road on their way to learning to eat, and also supporting parents who are trying to nurture these kids and guide them on this path. So I am so happy to have you here. You've had such an incredible impact in our family life, and I take so much of you with me in my work with families, and I'm just excited to have the opportunity to ask you some questions specifically related to eating. So Perfect. Here we are. I think we both love to eat. We shared a really good meal.
Yes, we did.
Years ago. Oh my gosh. We've known each other a long time, which makes me so happy.
Yeah, before your youngest was born.
Oh my gosh. So welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm in Colorado and I get to be outside because there aren't many people around, and that feels good. I'm just really practicing the tools that I've collected over the years, kind of full force, right? I mean, it's like time to step up what we know.
And so my first question for you is, what day is it today?
Monday. March 30th.
Question. So, I want to start off. One thing that I really try to do in my work, and I know in your work you do as well, and you've had an impact on how I do this with the families I work with, is help parents understand the brains of their little people. Mm-hmm. So one thing that you shared in our Evolve course, and I think actually in your smaller talks and webinars and sort of information that you put out into the world, is this amazing picture of the brain. And I would love if you could just give our viewers a little bit of a crash course in what that means. I'm gonna
You have it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna screen share and pull that up real fast. And here we go. And there it is.
Beautiful. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I love talking about the brain because I feel like it's something that is so accessible, but can make such a big difference in mainly our understanding of behavior, our own behavior and the behavior of the growing people. So the way that I've been taught to make sense of it on a very simple, user-friendly way is to think of not just one brain, but there's 3 brains, and they each are a different brain state, and they each are kind of responsible for helping us as humans in very different ways, and they all need very different things. So Dan Siegel, one of my favorite teachers, he uses his hand as a model, but you can also see it on here. We've got, if we're going from bottom up, which is how the brain develops, we've got our brain stem, which is back here. And that is what we call the reptilian brain, or the reptilian brain state. We've got our middle brain, which is our limbic brain. We can also refer to it as the mammal brain state. And we've got our neocortex, which we can think of as our human brain, the things that are very unique to us as humans: language, empathy, or rather, compassion, seeing different perspectives. And so they all function very differently, as you can see on here. So the human brain, thinking, cognition, processing, rationalization, creativity. It's really like the add-on brain. It's the part of our brain that is really optimal when we're resourced, when we have a lot of juice in our cup. When the stress goes up, the brain goes down, and we can find ourselves and our little people in more of a limbic brain state or a mammalian brain state, which is really what it looks like is the whining, the cranky, the crispy, the not cooperating, the being kind of short-tempered. It's not human, everything is playful and loving, and it's not reptilian, which is freaking out, fight or flight. So that middle brain, when somebody's Hungry can often start revving up. So that we'll talk about in a little bit. And then when somebody falls off the cliff and they're back here in their hindbrain, that means their system is so stressed, and it might not even be stress that you know of why that it's there. It could be something going on in their body. It could be something they heard. It could be just overwhelm from feeling overdone and not having the wherewithal to resource. And so when you fall into that place, you're in fight or flight or freeze. And that's the anger, that's the guilt, that's the, either it goes out and it's anger, or, quote unquote misbehavior. We like to call it stress behavior because now we know what it is. Or it goes inward, which is a lot of times what happens with parents is it's the fear, it's the panic, it's the guilt. It's those gremlin voices trying to get our attention, not about what's happening out there, but what's going on inside. So I'll stop there. You clarify and let me know what you need more of.
So I love that. I love the idea of thinking about it as stress behavior when a little one is in that reptilian brain, because the kids and families that I work with so often have a history of traumatic experiences, particularly around early medical interventions that they've gone through, or experiences that were scary around eating. So I work with a lot of kids that have feeding tubes, a lot of kids that have uncontrolled vomiting. And so they learn to build these associations with meal times and times that are supposed to be times for connection and sharing love.
Yeah.
But these little ones are coming to the table being triggered by the context and the cues that are letting them know it's time for a meal, or even just the presence of food. I mean, any number of things that kind of cue their defenses to be on, right? Be heightened,
Correct.
sense danger. And so I love the term, I'm going to steal that from you and give you credit, but the term stress behavior, because I do a lot of counseling with parents around how to interpret these behaviors, whether the kid starts crying, throwing food, running away from the table, all of those things. And I also think a lot about parents who are feeling the impact of their traumatic history. So an example that is talked about a lot in my professional community is a family who's had an infant who was in the neonatal intensive care unit. There's a ton of research around PTSD and post-traumatic stress responses in that population. And so a lot of us really try and think about the fact that parents are coming to the table or initiating the feeding in that state where they are primed to sense that danger is coming, or they're not feeling safe.
Yeah.
And so I love that this is sort of a paradigm that can help parents understand that.